Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another podcast session. We have here.
Hi everyone, I'm Christine. Um, a brief introduction of myself first. So I recently graduated from Carnegie Mellon University with a master's degree in information system management. And before that, I studied economics and math at NYU. And right now, I'm a machine learning engineer at TikTok. So I basically work on e-commerce recommendation system. In simple words, it's basically like our team tries to help our users discover products that are more relevant to them, and also help the system understand like different types of like products better. Yeah.
Sounds good. So, of course, everybody likes their daily TikTok scrolling session. So maybe you want to talk to us about what first got you into applying to this type of company, and also your background in applying for your previous major at CMU.
Actually, I was not a pure computer science student. Um, when I first in the undergrad, I studied economics and math, so I was already like interested in using data and logic to understand like people's behavior, like why people like make certain choices, how the markets work, and like what patterns we can find from data. But like at that time, I didn't know I want to become a machine learning engineer. I was considering like a few different paths, like finance, consulting, business analytics, and so on. And later, when I started doing more data science and machine learning project at school, I realized it is more interesting to building like some systems, not simply reading some or analyzing some data. Um, yeah, and that's why I like some like companies like TikTok, because like there are so many users on the platform and so many products and contents. And doing recommendation system can directly affect like what people really discover every day. So it's like something very practical. Um, and I can do something to improve their product experience. So I would say this kind of economics and math background gave me something like a foundation, like how to do analysis. And while in the graduation program, like doing information system management, I learned more closer like how data science and machine learning works. So I didn't plan everything perfectly at the beginning, but later on I studied and learned can kind of like push me to think about um, more closer about what I'm doing now. Yeah.
Sounds good. So, was there like a specific moment you said like you didn't really want to go into this whole like computer sciencey type of thing, right? Was there a specific moment that sparked your interest when you were looking for the jobs around you after you graduated out of CMU to find this type of the job that you have right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. Um, I would say like it was like not a very single moment, but there are a few experiences. Like for example, while I study at CMU,
Mhm.
I work on some projects. Like I had to use data and machine learning to help some real companies to solve some problems. For example, there's one project. Um, I need to predict student dropout risk on a learning management system. That project made me think that, oh, I like the full process from understanding the problem, working with a lot of data, building a model, evaluate it, and then think about how the result could help improve the company's platform. So when I'm looking for jobs, I started to think about um, I want to do something closer to building systems. So that's why I started to looking for jobs like machine learning engineer, and attracted me to work on recommendation system.
Right. So that's actually really interesting. I mean, there's many people now in the world that, after they finish their undergrad or graduate degree out of a university, they are not able to very fast be finding a job. Or even though for like youth in middle school and high school right now, is there anything you would like to say when you're thinking back as a student, how you plan your whole journey up to right now?
One thing I will be honest, like I didn't plan my step perfectly starting from the beginning. Like when I was a middle school, high school student, I don't know what to do in the future 5 years. I started with something that I think I'm good at or like interesting, like economics and math, like data. and I keep adjusting as I learn something more. I think nowadays the market is indeed very competitive, so always feel stressful. But I don't think you have to make a perfect plan from day one. I think what helped me most is like I try to build some useful skills step by step, and trying to turn my experience to something might be useful. For example, I always like to take some classes that I can turn it into a project. So, and I try to understand how to explain my project clearly. And later on, when I apply for jobs, I learn from every interview and try to improve my resume and try to know how to show my project to others. So, yeah, so maybe the final job title is not that important, just focusing on building experiences and always trying to learn to solve problems. Yeah.
One thing about just having good grades is very simple, and I'm sure that you have very direct A's all around high school career. So like what is you talked about your hobbies, right? So what is one of your things outside of the school that you did when you were in the high school area that sparked your application, that you think sparked the application for the people who reviewed your resume when you're going applying?
I think that's a great point, and I don't think I was like there's no one activity, but like when I was in high school, I was interested in math. So outside the regular classes, I spent some time doing some like problem solving work, like math related activities, some school class, school projects, or just learn things on my own. Um, I think what matters most might be showing a consistent interest, like you are not just like doing classes for grades, but trying to understand what kind of problems you enjoy to solve. I think that's more important for students today, and also for like colleges or employers. Um, so yeah, just pick something you feel like you are genuinely interested in and care about, and really spend time on it. Yeah.
Right, and I actually like very agree with that point. Like, just to find something that you really like and to continue on that journey and not just to be whatever uh, outside people push you to be. Right. I mean, that's a great example. So, looking back, another thing, like what is part of your journey that surprised you the most? So you say that you went to a bunch of clubs and then you did the math competitions, maybe something like that. What is something that surprised you most when you first got into it?
I think something I did earlier might actually connect it later, but like even though I didn't might realize at that time. So like when I was in high school or middle school, um I thought if you choose one direction that everything has to match that direction perfectly. But
Right. Yeah, understand.
yeah, um but I feel like I studied with economics and math at first, and then turned into analytics and later machine learning. At first, I'm a bit worried because I wasn't a traditional computer science major. Maybe I was behind, but later on, I figured out that early experience actually helped me a lot. Like for example, economics helped me think about like how people like choices and incentives, and math helped me like build the logical thinking skills. Um, and another thing surprised me was that in tech industry, like the hardest part is not like writing code, but actually understanding the problem. For example, I'm doing a recommendation system now. The first thing you need to do is to understand what a better recommender system means. Like, is it like more clicks on the platform, or like better long-term user experiences, more purposes, or like helping new products get discovered? So there are a lot of different kind of problem. You need to know how to define those problems. So I think the biggest surprise is that like your background didn't have to perfectly like linear. So um, many experiences you have like go through might be really helpful in the future. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely something to for people to look into. But I wanted to ask you this question, is off the script right now. I mean, You talked about how computer programming is not just coding. I mean, I've talked to, or my team talked to many other people like you out there today, but there's one thing that people have not answered, and that's, as a nonprofit organization bringing out free, one of our programs being out free classes for students of the youth, for and then one of the classes are actually computer programming, right? So what is one thing that you suggest to our youth volunteers, right, that you want them to be helping the people who are younger than them in the classes, and not just the coding and all that type of stuff?
Like if you want to teach students, like don't just teach them the coding syntax, something like that, but how to like think through a problem. Because I feel like when I was a beginner, I sometimes get struggle with like um I got stuck because I felt like maybe I'm not smart enough, or but actually it's like I don't know how to break the problem down and I have no idea where to start. So I think one helpful thing is to do is to slow down and like slow the thinking process and think about like what is the problem asking, what information we already have, and what is the first like small step, something like that. And yeah, I think also another important thing is to like be comfortable to making mistakes, because especially in computer science or programming, like making like small errors are very normal. So um, I have to spend a lot of time doing debugging work. So it's just part of the work. So I think um, just be less afraid to try. Yeah.
For sure. Like, I mean, everybody starting from small makes mistakes, but you said earlier that those mistakes are all part of the journey. And I feel like that's definitely a tip for those youth to be listening to. Okay, let's go into another question about, what AI professionals. I mean, we're getting into a space right now where the technology and AI, like I said, are getting very complex. And one thing that, the organization is structured for is to make sure that the youth are knowledgeable with these things, so that they cannot be too surprised, or when their jobs of like driving a car is now taken over by AI, right? So I want to ask you this question. So many students hear terms like AI engineer, machine learning engineer, and data scientist, but aren't sure what they actually mean. Could you explain what your work involves and how it relates to those terms?
Sure, no problem. Um, so for example, um, a simple way to explain this is like data scientist actually focuses on using data to understand a problem and find some patterns or insights behind it, like analyzing user behavior, measure whether product change work, or like build some machine learning model to predict something. A machine learning engineer is more like is closer to build a system, like making sure a model can work reliably in a real product. So there might be data pipelines, some model features, experiments, and engineering system. Like AI engineer as a kind of broader term is like something building. It can mean someone building machine learning models or just building some AI agents, AI tools, and large language models. So for my work, I'm a machine learning engineer working on a recommendation system for TikTok shop. So the high level problem is a huge number of possible products. Like how do we decide which products may be most relevant to each user? So my work is like understanding recommendation system, working at data, user behavior, and also the features and so on. We're and also doing experiments, analyzing their results, and we're need to working on product managers, data scientists, and other engineers to learn how to improve the system.
Sounds good. So, I mean, all the work that you said are very, I think to myself, it's just really technical, right? For those people who are more interested into like the arts, and for example, if they started playing the violin or the piano, something like that, and they like drawing and all that type of things, what do you recommend them when we're all going into this AI world in the future?
People in arts, I don't think like everyone has to become a programmer or doing AI related work. But I think students with interest in art, design, and so on, um, I don't think they need to give up their interests, and their skills are pretty much like maybe more valuable because right now AI can generate like music, image, and so on. But like, I think the important thing is like it needs like humans' taste, judgment. You need to know what is a good art or bad art. They can give you AI can give you many versions, but like you need to decide like what is meaningful and original. So I feel like just developing their like creative skills, but maybe try to learn how to use AI tool um like understanding how AI can help them, like what AI can do or cannot do. So for example, I feel like if you are an artist, you can use AI to brainstorm what kind of visual styles you might want to use, explore ideas. So I think AI might be a helpful tool, but like creative skills is more like valuable things.
Yeah, definitely. I think that schools right now are all teaching students how to properly use AI, the tools and all the stuff that's coming out other than the ChatGPT that came out a few years ago. So, with that being said, are there anything or tools, AI tools that you use right now to help with your current career, or like what developments are you more excited about in the future that you want to see?
Like right now, I use AI tools that help me coding or do brainstorming, writing some articles, like using the cloud and ChatGPT and so on. Like like I want to learn a new concept. Now I just ask ChatGPT, what does that mean? Can you summarize some documents for me? Just brainstorm it. Um, I think the important thing I just need to check the answer, like whether they are correct, because they sometimes lie to me. Like especially doing technical work, like ChatGPT always sounds very confident, but still can be wrong. So I just need to verify it every time. I think for future development, I think AI could be more personalized and more useful for learning. Um, I feel like if instead of just giving me a final answer, they can act more like understand where the student is confused. Like,
More like an AI agent, right? Like,
yeah, tutor me based on my background, like giving example at my level, help me practice. So,
mhm.
yeah, it can help people build things faster and and can help engineers or just normal people to build some apps, project designs. It could be really easy in the future.
Yeah, so some people are already like students, middle school and high school age are using AI already to help with their, schoolwork and all that stuff. What is something that you recommend them to take control of so that they don't, always just use it? Also like to check their answers. How do you recommend to actually do that properly?
I think some steps might be helpful. Like first, you can try to solve the problem by yourself. Like for example, spend 10 to 15 minutes thinking about it, and before you ask AI. Um, and another point might be don't just ask ChatGPT to give you a final answer. Ask you to explain the concept behind it, give some hints, or show some simple example. And third point could be like after AI give you the answer, try to close it and try to explain the solution in your own words. Like if you can answer white answer work, then you probably just fully understand it already. So I would say, and also don't just solely rely on AI. Still need to check class notes, talk to teachers, and or just communicating with your classmate. So I would think don't skip learning. Just use AI. Just give you a final answer.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So maybe let's talk about the facts that for students to actually prepare for the AI technology and tools that you just listed earlier. So, what skills were you recommend them to prioritize right now? Technical skills, communication, problem solving, something like that, in order to use the AI type of tools properly.
Like if you want to learn the basic or technical foundation, you it could be helpful to understand the basic like coding skills, data, math, statistics. Um, so you won't just think AI is something like really magic or something too abstract. Um, but I would say more important thing might be like problem solving skills, need to how to ask question to AI. Because if you give them, for example, give you AI very vague question, they probably just give you a vague answer. So maybe try to practice how to break a big problem to some smaller steps and how to ask questions. And yeah, I definitely would think communication skills is also important. Like, because AI can help you create things, but you need to explain your idea, especially when I work in company now. I need to explain things to product manager, for example, who actually don't have any technical background. So you need to know how to explain this clearly and definitely have good judgment on what is important and whether AI can generate correct answer or good answer for you.
Yeah, so I mean, now I'm gonna go off script again because you said something about the product manager and the whole hierarchy about your the company that you work in right now. So maybe something that you want to tell us about is school clubs are one thing that students run or like student organizations like nonprofits, right? So what is something that you see in a company with like people above you or like your people that your colleagues, something like that, that you think that the school clubs should bring in as well? For example, how you have a product manager, should we have like the secretary or student secretary, something like that? I mean, that to match it up with a real world company and what it actually looks like.
I don't think like clubs should like just directly copy a company structure. Um, but I think there is something that a student organization might learn from. Like, because I feel like in a company, when people work on a project, usually each person owns a specific part. A product manager just learn how to define the goal, what user needs. Engineer just focus on building models and AI and stuff. So in a student club, it could be do something like similar, like one person own event planning, the other own design and marketing and stuff. Um, this is my first point, and second point could be try to set up a clear goals before doing the work. Because in club, I know sometimes people can just like, oh, let's host an event or let's build something, but the goal it's not very clear. In company, people usually ask like who this for, like what problem we are doing, and how do we do if we work. So I think student organization can also learn to ask these questions. And I would say also do some documentation and follow-ups. Like after meeting, someone could like write down what was decided, who is responsible for what, and what are some next steps. Or so I think just focuses on whether everyone knows their responsibility and what to do next.
Yeah, that's definitely something for all those people who are running as students in organizations, like you said, to look out for. As AI becomes more capable, right? As you said earlier, what human qualities become even more valuable? That's a very big star question that people always want to ask. As I mean, like when AI is just taking over basically the basics necessities of when human daily life, what is something that humans will be more valuable other than like that you said arts earlier?
Yeah, I think one thing is like critical thinking because AI just can give you every answer and very quickly in a few seconds, but they don't know your context maybe, and it can be wrong. So people need to ask like, does this really make sense? And is this really fair? I'm actually solving my problem. And I second thing would be like communication, as I also mentioned before, like in a company or student club, um, you need to understand each other instead of just like giving some ideas to others and learn how to explain your thinking and listen to others' ideas. And third thing could be empathy, maybe. So um, like AI might help you solve technical problems, but don't know your feelings. So, if you are leading a club or like building a programs, like you need to learn what people actually need, instead of just maybe focusing on efficiency. So yeah, I would say those like soft skills or like um, those soft things could be more important in nowadays life instead of like purely like technical stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, you talked about learning, right? And learning the AI tools to be actually useful for the students themselves is really important. However, some students right now are really struggling with, it's procrastination of doing your homework and also balancing out with your personal life as well. What is one thing that brought you when you were in your high school career that pursued a proper way of managing a schedule properly?
I think for managing my schedule, I would say I don't think I was actually a little procrastinated and I was not always perfectly organized. I think um I think one thing is important is to just not to plan my schedule too ideally because before I think when I was in high school, sometimes I try to make some plan that looks very perfectly, like studying for like 5 hours straight. But in real life, that is very hard to follow. So I always like gave up my plans, and I feel like that's very useless. Um, so I feel like just to I would start with just like, oh, let me just read the question and outline the first step, instead of just okay, like I'll just do my work for next to 5 hours. Um, and another thing is my just leaving some buffer time. I sometimes underestimate how long things would take. Like I learned that something is due on Friday, and I should not plan to start on Thursday night. Um, yeah, maybe start a little earlier. Uh, and I think that could make everything less stressful.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so like what's something that you wish someone has told you when you were younger to maybe even achieve more? Or I mean, maybe you have already been at your dream job right now, but what's something that you wish that you would have changed between when you were in your high school career?
I would say if someone told me earlier, like you don't need to wait until you feel completely ready to start. Because when I was in high school, I sometimes thought I needed to know a lot before I could try something, like like before building a project, applying to some jobs. I feel like I should practice interview, practice building resume until I should wait until I do everything perfectly. But looking back, I feel like a lot of growth actually comes from when I really doing the interview or really getting those rejection letters. So I would say just do it when you're trying to do something, just do it. Learning faster, you might just learn faster when you try it and making mistakes during that process. So I wish I could had asked for that advice earlier. Um, just don't try to figure out everything before you start.
Yeah, so I mean, a follow up here. If you think that you followed what you just said about to not uh, wait for someone to tell you to do something and just do it right away. What do you think that is going to change right now with your working at potentially TikTok or maybe even going to NYU and CMU in the first place? What will be changing?
I probably would have started building some projects and asking questions earlier because I sometimes waited until I fully prepared. Um, so if I change that, I might exploring coding project earlier and talking to people in tech industry earlier, and maybe be less afraid of putting myself in some situations where I didn't know everything yet. Um, but I think at the same time, I don't think I just waited my past time because I was studying economics or math, and I slowly figure out things that all help me understand what I actually enjoy. So, um, I would say the difference could be just speed and confidence.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so now getting into the last few questions. I mean, if just pretend that all students did not watch until this point. right? But they want to hear this question for an answer from you. So if every student watching this interview decided to take action after hearing your story, right, what are the top three things they should start doing like right now to get not struggling in the future?
I would say like first, try to pick some useful skills and try to practice it. It could be something like doing coding program, or you want to writing novels, or do public speaking, or you really want to do arts or design work. You don't have to learn everything, but you can just ask AI, what should I learn? What should I do? And you can just build the habit. And that leads to the second thing I want to say is to try to build something small. If you're interested in AI, you can ask AI if I can build a small chatbot or build a small recommendation project, and AI will walk you through the full process. Like if you like art, just try to create some portfolio by yourself. So um, you doesn't need to do something very perfect, but just to start doing something small and build and iterate fast and fail fast. Um, and third point could be talking to different people and ask for feedback, like talk to other teachers, students, mentors, or people working in different industries. Um, so don't have to like figure out everything by your own, but like doing some conversation could be really helpful.
Teamwork makes the dream work for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so like when you talked about doing all those three things, what should they stop wasting time on, like starting today?
I feel like the thing you should like stop spending too much time is like trying to compare yourselves to other people.
Right, that's for sure. Yeah.
Because I feel like nowadays it's easy to look online. I feel like everything else is really perfect and looking ahead. Someone has better grades or better internships or better career. Um, but I feel like it's just making you more feel more stressful. Um, and another thing I would say is like stopping like consuming so many information without just doing something. Like I was used to always like watch videos, reading posts or learning about AI tools, but I never started to practice it or build some AI tool by myself. So that's the thing I gradually learned. Okay, I should start building something that could be like building some AI agents. That could be you don't have to be perfect, but just don't read what others are doing, but instead you can try yourself doing something.
Okay, so as a final closing question, if you had 60 seconds to speak directly to every student watching this podcast, what message would you leave them with that's different from the 3 points you said earlier about the future and opportunities ahead?
So if you give me like 60 seconds, I would say don't maybe define your future path too early. So I feel like sometimes when I'm young, especially in high school or middle school, it's easy to think, oh, I'm not a math person, I'm not a computer science person. I used to think about this before, but I feel like a lot of things might not be true. They're just based on you, like what you have or haven't tried yet. So I feel like in nowadays, especially in this AI area, like future is going to change a lot. So honestly, no one knows what exactly your like what every career look like in the future. So um, maybe instead not trying to predict what the future perfect career life look like, but focus on building someone, becoming a person who can really adapt and always stay curious, stay open, and don't be afraid to start from zero in new areas. Um, yeah, your first interest might not doesn't have to be your final career, and your background has doesn't have to be perfect. It's okay to be confused, and don't be afraid to ask questions. So yeah.
Okay, so I mean, for everyone watching right now, you heard it from the professional herself to definitely learn from your mistakes and try to get everybody to help you with it. And then teamwork makes the dream work, like I said earlier. So thank you so much, Christine, for being on our podcast today, and that's still growing. I want to thank you very much again to for being here and just answering all the questions and the follow-ups and off-script questions. I mean, it's a good journey. Okay, and I'll be seeing you next time.